Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. أما بعد أحبتي في الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته أسأل الله كريم رب العرش العظيم أن يتولنا في الدنيا والآخرة. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Almighty accepts our good and forgives our evil and blesses the Muslims everywhere, protects the Muslims everywhere, forgives the Muslims everywhere. أيها الأحباب, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says في كتابه الكريم after أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك بالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says في كتاب الكريم after ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. ألف لام ميم, here's a book that contains no doubt. It's a هدى للمتقين. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب, those who believe in the unseen. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ومما يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة. What do? They establish a prayer. And from what we provide for them, they spend. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets us know that these are some of the sifat of the mu'mineen. Those are the ones who they have, in general, they believe in the Quran, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was revealed, and it's a guidance. It's a guidance for who? For those muttaqeen, those pious ones who have this beautiful trait. And these pious people that have this beautiful trait from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they believe in the Quran, they implement the Quran, they try to practice the Quran, and they know that the Sunnah is revelation. So also the Sunnah is the source of guidance. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and they also, وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, they establish the prayer. And they believe in the Amur al-Ghaybiyah. They believe in the issues of the unseen world. And that has to do with the 6 pillars of Iman, and tu'mina billahi, to believe in Allah, wa malaikati, and his angels, wa kutubihi, and his books, wa rusulihi, and his messengers, and the day of judgment, and the divine destiny, the good and the evil of it. Those are the 6 pillars of faith, the 6 pillars of Iman, that every Muslim must believe in order to be a Muslim. So those are the 6 pillars of Iman, and they all have to do with Amur al-Ghaybiyah. And it's revealed in the Quran and the Sunnah about those 6 pillars of Iman. And those are matters that every Muslim must believe and have faith in, and that's why it's so important, Iman. And that's the crux of what is being discussed here. And they also, yu'minuna bil ghaybi wa yuqimuna salat, they establish the prayer. They don't just pray like you and I and throw a salat together, but they pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. They worship Allah azza wa jal, the only one worthy of worship, and they make the proper wudu. They have the proper etiquettes of salat. They establish the prayer. They don't throw their prayer together, but rather they are focused, and they have khushu' wa tu'ma'nina, that they have humility and focus in their prayer and in their worship of Allah azza wa jal. The one who establishes the prayer, they pray their salat on time. They have khushu', they have this concentration and this humility before their Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they realize that this is the highest form of communication that you can have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they yuqimuna salat, they establish the prayer. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and what Allah has provided them with, they spend. So those traits, if we're to go back and look at that ayat in talking and discussing about some of the important sifat or divine or excellent traits of the mu'mineen, is that they believe in general, in the Quran, and they believe in totality of the Quran, but it's a general belief in everything that Islam comes with from the Quran and the Sunnah. And they take that as guidance. Hudan lil muttaqeen, it's a guidance for those muttaqeen, those pious ones we're talking about. And what do they possess? Alladhina yu'minuna bil ghayb, they possess the belief in the ghayb. Alladhina yu'minuna bil ghayb, they believe in it. This is all the umur al-ghaybiyah that we just mentioned in the 6 pillars of Iman, and you cannot have Iman without it. So every Muslim has these traits to a greater or lesser extent, because the people to follow it, they have different levels. The people of knowledge and higher understanding, they have a higher level of that, and they understand it more. And then the people of the lowest level, who are just, they're Muslim, but they don't know that much about their religion, they still believe in it in general. And that's sufficient. They're Muslim, alhamdulillah. But you want to have a higher station and be of those ones who really are the muttaqeen, those pious ones. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. They establish the prayer. Because, inshallah ta'ala, many of us, I can't even dare say most of us, I don't know, the numbers, but we know there's a lot of Muslims, and depending on the difference of opinion, but there's a lot of Muslims who don't pray. Or they pray sometimes. Lots. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, establishing the prayer. And then from amongst those who actually pray the 5 times. Think about all those, if we wrote off all those who don't pray 5 times a day. And those who establish the prayer 5 times a day, how many of them يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ? So it's even less that are actually establishing the prayer. There's more that pray in general. They pray sloppily. They pray 5 times a day, but they're in a hurry. They don't pray in the masjid. They pray very quickly. They, just get and pray. May Allah protect us and forgive us all. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. But how many of us yuqimuna salah? We establish the prayer. That we are meeting the shurut, the conditions of prayer, with perfection. That we are making a beautiful wudu. And we are, and the purification, the tahara, the preparation for the prayer, and having tutma'nina fi salat, being comforted, and each prostration, and each sujood, and each ruku' is done with perfection, that they're bowing and they're prostrating with perfection, not with laziness and not with sloppiness, but really concentrating on the movement for the sake of Allah. Praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of are on that level? And then that last trait that we mentioned, and we could still go on, and we will. But for now, is that what they gain and earn, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ, meaning what we give you, meaning what Allah gives you. Allah gave you your wealth. If you're a doctor, an engineer, you make 6 figures. May Allah bless you in that. That's from Allah, though. You've got to remember, don't ever become arrogant and think it's because of me and it was my heart and I don't believe in wanting and asking and I'm above this and I'm above that. It was my effort. It was my hard work. I came out of the poverty and went to school and got several degrees and I did this and I'm so... No, that's not the trait of the mu'min. The mu'min realizes, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and from what Allah gave you, you spend it. You spend it in good. You spend it in halal. You spend it in what He prefers and as His provision. And we ask and beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Almighty to accept our good and forgive our evil. Protect us from kulli su wa makruh. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.